Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Google Teacher Theater. This presentation, or this little share, is Google Apps through the classroom lens. And I'm just going to explore some basics, and these are all student approved. These are all 8th grade student approved. So this is the QR code for the presentation. All of the resources are live. And here is the shortened URL. It's goo.gl/ the letter 5 or number 5, lowercase d, capital N, lowercase d, and capital E. Like I said, everything that we go through here, things that I'm sharing, are going to be available through that. And if there's something that doesn't link, please either ask for permission, just say, I want this, because I'm hoping everything does, that I opened everything up. I will have this QR code and the address for you at the end of the presentation too, as well. So I think it looks as though most of us are done. Well, welcome to beautiful San Antonio, Texas. My name is Kay Henriksen, and I am a Google Apps certified trainer. I'm also a digital literacy and ed tech director at our local CISA. In Wisconsin, we divide our state into 12 sections, and they are divided into cooperative educational service agencies, and we happen to be CISA 4, which is on the west side of the state, west central side of the state. I am a former, I could put recovering 8th grade English teacher, and I breathe middle level ed, and that's why I've never changed my Twitter handle. You can find me at middle level ed, and this is going on there after we get done as well. My blog is EdTech with Purpose, and that's pretty much why I wanted to share this. These are very simple tools, maybe things that you've already used in your classroom, but they have purpose for me because they are either things that my students have tried, or they are things that my students have brought to me. As an educator, you know as well as I do, anytime a kid walks into the room and says, hey, Miss H, I was totally on Google Chrome last night, and I went to the web store, and I found this app, and I think we should have it on our browser. To me, that's exciting because it wasn't homework I had assigned. It was that inquiry, that inquisitive learning, that self-directed learning. Those are the exciting types of things those are edgy wins for me. Going through the different types of Google Apps for education and how you can use them, I'm basically going to share ways that we use them in an 8th grade English classroom. So if you teach in lower grades or upper grades or higher ed, they're still applicable, but you are the masters of your universe. You know what will work with your kids. But to teach 8th graders how to constructively criticize, and even getting over that word criticize, Google Apps, Google Drive, Google Docs are perfect for that, because there's that moment where I can teach not something that is in my English curriculum per se, but it's something that I can teach them that is digital literacy. How do I behave online? How am I a digital citizen? So to teach them how to positively and help build their classmates up by using Google Drive and in their documents. And you can see here that multiple students can make comments, and they could work on one thing. Who says every child has to write one paper? They could work on it together. I was floored, and maybe I shouldn't have been because I've been in the 8th grade classroom for 14 years, but I was floored when I would go in and look at the Google Docs that they might have been working on collaboratively and see the timestamp on their comments, 2:14 a.m. Really? I'd want to put on something like, go to bed. We have got a test tomorrow, go to bed. But if that's their life, that's what they do. That's when they collaborate. That's when they probably text each other and go, hey, this paper's due tomorrow. Why don't you meet me on Google Drive and let's get this done? It gives the students creation. It gives them ownership. It encourages collaboration in my classroom, communication. I love, 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 and I'm going to exit out of here for a bit, but I love let me find one that belongs to me. I love the research tool. The research tool happens to be an English teacher's best friend. I can still teach my students MLA or APA citation, the proper format, and all of those things that they are supposed to do. I can have that mini lesson, I can have that discussion, but when they do the research, they don't have to be bouncing in and out of their doc. They can just go to tools and then the research tool, and they can look for a series of, they can look for everything, or they could look for quotes, they can look for scholarly articles, they could look for, maybe they need to look a word up in the dictionary. And what I love about this, and here I'm just going to put dogs in there, I can limit and refine that search. If I'm looking for images of dogs, well, we can have a conversation and a mini lesson about Creative Commons, copyright. Huge discussion to have, especially when kids are, when we want them to create, we want them to create their own stuff, not copy somebody else's stuff. But even if it is free, to teach them the different types of formats. And if I'm going to cite something, I can choose whichever format my school happens to be using. We use MLA. But I think at an 8th grade level, maybe we should dip them into both so that when they get to the high school, if they use MLA or Chicago or APA, at least they've had exposure to what are the key ingredients in a proper citation. That research lets them do that. And if I find, the research tool lets them do that. If I find something, that I like, I want this to be bigger, but it's not. I'm going to find an article. I'm going to find an article, and what it will do, it will automatically cite that source for me, and I think that's a powerful tool for kids. Very powerful. They'll see that citation at the bottom of their paper, and that leads to a discussion, either what is this for, and then again we can have that giving credit to the proper sources discussion. The voice comments Chrome app, if you go to the Chrome store and you look for voice comments, what that app does is if I want to say something about a student's work, all I have to do is click on the little microphone in the voice after I have it installed, and I can record. Hey Janie, I really like your thesis statement. Let's support that with, and then I can give her examples. Rather than type all that in a great big comment that she may or may not read, it gives a human voice to, and I don't know, I know the kids know that I read their papers, but they can hear that I've read their paper. I'm giving them that instant feedback, and plus sometimes if you've got that struggling reader or an auditory learner, that voice comments Chrome app is the way to go, because you can reach that child that isn't necessarily tuning into what you type on the comments. Using forms in Google Drive, for me, was one of the most powerful tools that I could use. I could use it for a formative assessment where just a quick, okay, do they get prepositions? Are they understanding gerunds? Do they know the subject of the predicate of the subject or object of the predicate? Do they know all that? I can do a quick 3, 4, 5 question form, and instantly before we leave school that day, I know whether they've gotten it or not. You can also use it for summative. I'll show you an example of a formative sample, and it's very, very simple. Head, heart, foot. It's an exit slip. Okay? And 3 questions. What did you learn today? That's what's in your head. Okay, how are you feeling about what you learned today? And if you make this anonymous, you're probably going to get a lot more honest feedback, especially on the formative stuff. And foot. What supports do you need to move forward? So if I'm teaching research paper, which in our 8th grade, it's like teaching someone how to ride a bike for the first time. It is step by step by step by step by step. If they don't get what a functional introduction is and what a thesis statement is, or what a works cited or a bibliography, or if they don't get that, maybe they could tell me that, and that instantly tells me when I go home at the end of the day how to structure my instruction for the next day. I've got to totally go over works cited again. Or, you know what, they've got thesis, let's move on. So that is the head, heart, and foot formative assessment. Whoops. And a summative assessment sample is one that, actually I made several of these. In our vocabulary, when we studied vocabulary lessons, I quizzed them on 2 things. Did they know the definition of the word? Not necessarily the correct spelling, because I was not assessing them on spelling, but did they know the definitions of these new vocabulary words? And secondly, could they use them in context of a sentence? So those are the 2 things that they were being assessed on. Here's a summative assessment. And I had 150 8th graders in 6 different sections. So I made the form can be made, have a first and a last name. They need to type in the definition for this. And one thing that I learned, you learn by fire when you do these things. You learn by trial and error. And if you can take that, if you as an educator take the fear away from yourself, your kids really pick up on that. So I'm like, this is the first time we're trying this, you guys. You tell me whether this is a way you want to be assessed. We tried it, and what we learned is that the students might have known the definition, but if they accidentally put a capital on there, or if they accidentally didn't put a capital where there should have been one, it would mark it wrong. So that was one of those things where I need to go through very carefully with a fine-tooth comb on their responses to make sure I am not penalizing a student. And they do get the list of words up on the board when they do this. But here is the context. Then they choose which word best fits in the sentence. But that is a summative assessment. That's what they've learned at the end of that particular vocabulary unit. And those 2 types of forms are just, there are a million things to use for forms, surveys or forms with. Use a survey, use a class interest. I had them sign up for their research paper topics using a Google form. And what happened is they were able to see the results live as they were inserting their topic, and the rule was 1 topic per class unless you were arguing a different point. If you were arguing the pro or the con of one certain topic, then you could have that. But it was almost a race because they wanted to be the first one to have the topic of, let's pick one for 8th graders, school uniforms. They got all over that one. Or digital devices in this classroom. That was a very big topic. Everybody wanted that one. But they get to see that live, and by gosh, even the kid who did not want to write the research paper was engaged just because he wanted his topic or she wanted his topic. Google Sites is another great app where you could create your own classroom LMS, and that's one example is in my former life, we put everything on our middle school, English 8, and all of the resources, and you'll see that these are dated because, like I said, that was my former life, but kids had access. It was either a Google Doc, or if it was in a Word document and it was plenty good and I didn't need to convert it into a Google Doc, I left it in Word, or I left it in a PowerPoint, or I left it. But every single resource was at their fingertips, so if they forgot the rubric or if they forgot how to do the work cited, they didn't have to wait to come back to school to get another copy. They could just go to our website and find the information on that. So Google Sites is a great example of what you could do with an LMS. You can also have class discussions. We got rid of journals. Not digital journals, but notebooks. Notebooks that usually ended up looking like they've gone through the ringer a few times by the end of the year. but we use discussion boards. And we encouraged our kids to blog on the Google site so that other students could see this is appropriate behavior when we are online. This is appropriate grammar. This is appropriate language. I wanted them to learn from each other rather than me harp on them all the time. You can use Google Sites. Students can use them to create their own e-portfolios. They can collect, just like we used it for that classroom LMS, kids can use it to collect all of their data throughout the course of the year. And I did put a link on there. You could use a Google site to make your professional portfolio. These are the things that I've done. These are the PDFs of my certificates that I've earned. These are the workshops I've gone through. I think Google Sites has a lot of potential for educator effectiveness, a platform for that. And then you can let people know about classroom events, and you can embed your calendar into your website for class assignments. And this is just one example. Different hours had different colors, and that helped the kids delineate what was due when. Green was always science and orange was always English, that type of thing. And what I liked about Google Calendar, other than the fact that it works so well in Google Sites, is that if I had an assignment, immediately I could shoot that out to all the students in my Google group, in my class, because they were in my Gmail already. Speaking of Gmail, once you get your class list and you get if your school has student emails in Google, or even if they're not, because way back when we started having class lists, or when I was collecting student emails, a lot of them were personal emails before we got our act together and became a Google Apps for Ed school. But you can create your own discussion groups and talk about the power in a discussion group when a classmate gets silly. And if any of you teach middle schoolers could, there's a little potential of being silly there, but they'll make some silly, like, hey, what's up? And in our discussion about, our very titillating discussion about verbs or something like that, and another student will comment in the discussion group saying, hey, Kay, that's not how we're supposed to behave here. I had to do no classroom discipline or no virtual classroom discipline at all. So they're learning digital literacies, in class and online, and how to respond. It's also safe. At our school, up to high school, I believe, all of our student Google emails are protected, where they can email within our domain. They can't even send themselves an email to their other Gmail at home. But up to 8th grade, we have them that protected, because sometimes we're not sure, some of our 8th graders may not be 13. They might be, 12. So we just decided it's best just to keep it that way. But once the kids know the parameters and they know that it's safe, they're okay with it. And then they can get homework help. They can email me, but they're not emailing me, they're putting it in the discussion group. So I think that's a great thing. If you've never heard, has anyone ever heard of Boomerang? Boomerang for Gmail? Okay, it's a godsend. If there is something on your mind, I have to tell my kids this, and it needs to go out on Friday, and it's Tuesday, and you know that in the course of your professional life you're going to forget it by Friday, create that email after you've installed Boomerang, because it's a third-party app. But once you've installed it, you can set up a date, a time, and it'll go into your Boomerang mailbox, and then on that date and time, boom, it goes out. I don't know about you, but I think that is definitely worth a try, and I put the link up here for you for that. That's great when you're trying to remind, there's Boomerang, trying to remind kids of very important dates or, well, good gravy. Very important dates or deadlines. Now, I don't have enough time to go through all of these. These are some of the Chrome apps and extensions that very quite honestly have come from kids. These are the things where they'd be like, have you tried this? And one of them is Study Stack. Study Stack is a Chrome app where students can put this on their own Chrome browser, so they can have it at school, they can have it at home, as long as they are logged in to Chrome under their school email. StudyStack lets them customize and create their own flashcards. And it can be flashcards for anything. I had kids using them for when we were studying, when my neighbor was studying the Constitution and they were talking about the Bill of Rights. I had kids ask, okay, remember we talked about that study stack in English? How do I want to make a study stack so I get the Bill of Rights down. Math, science, any topic at all, study stack is an absolute gem of a find for kids. Readability is another, it's actually an extension, so it'll end up up here. These are where the extensions end up. But readability, it was great for research because if the kids, we knew we had a small window of research time in class, and we would be looking for either, websites, research, that type of thing. And what I would tell the kids is, I want you to find the information based on the topic that you're researching, but put it in your read later. We'll install readability, put it in your read later, and then when we have more time and we talk about validity and evaluating is this a good source to use for my research paper, we can have that discussion, but it's there. They didn't go, where's that website? I have no idea where it is. So that's readability. They can read it now. They could, if they've got a Kindle, they could send it to their Kindle if they wanted to. But I really found that quite nice. Another one that a colleague shared with me is QuietTube. YouTube is full of wonderful things. YouTube is also full of not so wonderful things. And at school, I don't need my kids to see those not so wonderful things. They've got enough time on their own to venture into that. And they're 8th grade. I don't know, they're still kids. So what QuietTube does is it is an extension, and you install it, and you bring up a YouTube video, and this is what you get all around the video. You get just the video with nothing but white. So there isn't any extraneous, miscellaneous, awful, suggestive things. And when you end the video, you don't get that whatever 12 square thing of other topics, and somebody always throws a nasty one in there. And school's just not the place for that, and that's my own editorial, my soapbox. I've heard this pronounced kaku. Basically, it's a mind mapping tool. It's a diagramming tool, and it's a great way for kids to organize their thoughts before they put their thoughts into submittable form. So what I like is they can choose the dynamic. They can choose what their tool is going to look like, what their diagram is going to look like. The I Love Donuts one, it makes me giggle because I'm hungry. But they can choose how to do it. It can be extremely professional, like if you're going to discuss VMware, or if they're trying to put together a persuasive essay on school uniforms. So that's Kaku or Kaku. YouTube, again, is excellent, can be an excellent resource when used effectively. I think it's important for us to teach our kids. I know some of our youngest clients are protected from YouTube. Some of our schools block YouTube all completely. I'm of the belief that open it up, and then teach them. Teach them. So to make classroom playlists or to flip your class, I used YouTube, and it was accidentally. It was one of those, I never planned on it. I had a young man, God forbid, getting a heart. He was going to have open heart surgery, and he was leaving me for the rest of the school year. And his parents pleaded, we don't want him to miss a single thing in any of his classes. Can you help us? And under the gun, my first instance was, other 8th grade teachers, we need to make YouTube videos for Ryan, and we need to get these YouTube videos put on a playlist so that he can access them. They said from the hospital room, but I'm like, you recover. English can wait. but we need to give him those things. And some teachers were a little uncomfortable about being video recorded, but I tell you what, we were thrown into the flipped classroom concept thanks to Ryan, and it was an eye-opener, and it was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful experience for us. But he was able to get everything because we posted it online, and we got him through YouTube. Right now, YouTube is my go-to if we're going to be creating flipped lessons, hybrid lessons, that type of thing. Lastly, what I'd like to go over is how Common Core meets Google, and I am going to promote this book, and I have absolutely no reason in doing so other than the fact that it's really good. I don't know Michael Graham, but you're welcome, Michael Graham. It's Google Apps meets the Common Core. I highly suggest checking it out, but he gives clear examples. Here's the standard. Here's how Google Apps can address it. That's wonderful, and it's a tool that I'm going to use in future teacher professional development. So here it is again, the address for the website. You can contact me anytime at all if you had any questions. And I appreciate you being here on this beautiful day. And my time is all up. So thanks for being here, you guys. I'll hang out outside here.